Hi, welcome to another TeamSense webinar. My name is Caroline Rizzo, and today I'm looking forward to our discussion with our special guest, Carrie Armenio, HR Manager at Gobain. Before we introduce ourselves and get to talking, let's cover a few housekeeping items. So as always, questions are encouraged throughout the webinar. We ask that you place them in the Q&A panel at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to them at the last section of our time together. As you may have noticed, the webinar is being recorded. We will be emailing the recording out via a YouTube link to everybody that registered. In case you have to hop early or you want to revisit the content at a later time, you can always visit teamsense.com/webinars to see all past and upcoming topics too. So without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves. So as I mentioned, my name is Caroline Rizzo. I'm from Austin, Texas. I'm part of the marketing team at TeamSense and producer of our webinars. My goal is to learn about topics related to HR and operations in manufacturing, really as a way to start conversation and learn from experts in the field. So I'm super excited to be here today with my colleague, Ramil Reyes. Ramil, would you like to introduce yourself before we intro Carrie?
Yeah, thanks, Caroline. My name is Ramil Reyes. I am an account executive at TeamSense, and I own the business relationship with Gobain. See, I didn't attempt to do that in French. I think I would offend people. So from here forward, I'm going to say Gobain.
Good.
We could do it in like the Texas accents, like Saint Gobain. I'm joking. That's horrible. Oh my gosh. Well, hey, Carrie, so good to have you here. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Carrie Armenio. I'm the HR manager for Gobain in Granville, New York. I've been here almost 7.5 years. Gobain is a huge organization. We're based out of Paris, France. 160,000 employees throughout the world work for our organization. 76 countries, which is just amazing. It's crazy to think about how many people get up and go to Gobain just like I do every single day. Our purpose encompasses a lot of different things for such a large organization. So making the world a better home is our tagline that we like to communicate. And that really means different things to different sites. For us, we primarily, we work in a lot of different industries, but for Granville, automotive is a big deal for our site. Primarily the product we make is a bonded foam. So I'm going to bring up a topic that you probably never thought about, the emblem on your vehicle.
Yeah.
That is probably being held on by the product that we manufacture here in Granville. And I don't want you to think about it, because if you think about it, that means that it probably didn't work.
That's good. That's a good point. Well, that's
Yes.
what I love. That's what I love about working with people in manufacturing, and so many different companies produce things that we just don't even think about because we just kind of take it for granted, or it's not even a thought. But manufacturing is everywhere. And so it's really cool to see just all the amazing things that Saint-Gobain does. When I was looking up kind of all of the areas that they touch, it's just all encompassing. And I think I still love the fact this is so American of me, where I'm like, this Saint-Gobain is older than our country. It was, founded in the 1600s. And I think that's just such a rich history is really proven to stand the test of time. So it's
Yes,
wonderful.
exactly. 350 years. We helped manufacture the mirrors at the Paris of Versailles, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would love to see that one day, being a Saint-Gobain employee.
I think you gotta go back to you gotta go back to where it started, get a croissant on your way to work too. So
Yeah. So that is definitely a really, really cool thing.
yeah, I love it. Well, cool. So can you share a little bit more specifically about your role? I know you mentioned you've been with the company for about 7 years. You're based in New York. What are some of the challenges that you're solving today in your role?
Yeah. So, obviously HR folks have very similar topics that they have to deal with day in, day out. For me, the big thing that happened last year was we were a department of two about a year and a half ago. It was an HR coordinator and myself. Unfortunately, she decided to retire and leave me. And we did not get approval to backfill the position. So what do I do as the HR manager taking on all those coordinator responsibilities? And I had heard about TeamSense from our certainty sites. They had already implemented the platform at a good amount of their locations. And I thought that this would definitely be one way for us to improve our communication and selfishly maybe make my job a little bit easier too.
Well, that is not a bad thing. That's what we're here to do to help you because, a lot of what we've found is with these large, even larger companies, they're still doing things in a way where, oh my gosh, that could be automated, or geez, this is taking up so much time. And so that's really the intention of TeamSense is to come and really just help save you so much more time. So I'm really glad to hear that. And you kind of talked a little bit just around communication with your hourly workers. I know that a lot of people in manufacturing, they don't have a company email, right? So it's like, how are you
Yep.
supposed to get in touch with them?
Yeah, so that definitely, it's funny. It was kind of one of these aha moments where I'm like, oh, a texting platform. Well, my dentist texts me. Why can't I text employees? And I had to get over my fear of um, invading their personal time.
Mhm.
And what I found was that was not something that I needed to be worried about. I communicated that we were going to be rolling out this platform about a month in advance, and I actually got a lot of positive feedback. And I distinctly remember one person saying to me, well, it took you long enough to get something like this. I'm like, well, awesome. Okay, this is great. So, once I put it out to the masses and saw that, my concerns really were not anything that I needed to be concerned about, it's been pretty seamless since then. And, honestly, our attendance really, I did not want to implement this with the hopes that attendance would get better. We actually have a pretty good um people coming to work. We don't have a lot of issues there. What the platform did help was I no longer go into the supervisor's office and they play a voicemail for me and say, "Do you know who this is? Do you know when they made this phone call?" And um, and I just had an issue come up where, we give points if somebody doesn't call off timely, and TeamSense, it's I can see if they use TeamSense. I can see when they attempted to use it. Um, so I know whether or not they legitimately are following the policy, and we really didn't have that. And so yeah, so I don't have to listen to garbled voicemails anymore. It's an easy process, and I knew going to the reporting in text was going to be my hook to then be able to use the system really to my advantage from a communication standpoint, which is exactly what has happened.
Yeah, that's
So Carrie, quick question, because I know you'd kind of done your homework. We started talking late last year, and
Yeah.
obviously you talked to other sites at Saint-Gobain, and I think you really were thoughtful about the change management part of it. So it was good to find out that, texting wasn't a big concern. It was well adopted and accepted. But I think there were still elements of change that you were worried about. Knowing what you know now, did you think that the change management process was actually easier, or did you run into other things that maybe you didn't expect?
No, it really, it was easier than I expected. I had an opportunity to have face-to-face discussions with everybody at the beginning of the beginning of June.
Mhm.
Um, and I honestly, I don't remember anybody's trepidation. Oh, I know what it was. The other thing that I communicated out when we were rolling it out was I said, I'm not going to abuse your time with
Mhm.
this system because, yeah, it'd be great to send out happy birthday to so and so to the entire plant, just like my dentist does. But I don't like that. And I promised folks that I was going to use it for legitimate business purposes, and I feel like I've stuck to that. Nobody's said, "Hey, Carrie, this isn't, this text isn't relevant um to me needing to know."
Right.
Um yeah, I mean, honestly, it's been seamless. So all the things that I was concerned about were not an issue, and I guess I probably should have given my plant a little bit more credit. But even though I know I have some technically challenged folks here at the site, this was not one of them.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
One of the things that I remember us talking about, because I mean, you did a really great job socializing with the plant and with the employees, but one of the conversations we had was certainly with your production manager to make sure that he was on. Maybe it'd be great if you could talk a little bit about that, because if I remember correctly, it was Stan, he had a healthy dose of skepticism. That's how I describe
Yes,
it.
he definitely did. You know, you definitely need to look at this platform in the bigger picture. I mean, yeah, why would I want to spend money on having a texting platform that people can use to not come to work? I get it. But that's not, again, that's not the bigger picture for what we wanted. But when Stan realized that, hey, I can use this system too, he set up as an admin, he has just as much rights as I do. So he started to use the system if he needed to reach out to somebody, you know, say, and this happens a lot, unfortunately, in manufacturing, we scheduled folks to come in early on overtime. We didn't get a shipment of raw material that we needed to be able to run that production. So he can, in less than a minute, reach out to those folks, send them a text, and they're notified, and he can move on. And I think the bigger thing too is just having documentation too, that we did that. So it's been good for him. So he's definitely a supporter of it. My plant manager has used it. You know, I'm starting to use it more for, you know, just general business updates that I think the hourly folks need to be made aware of. And yeah, it's been good. I wish all of my implementations were this easy, you know, even from the documentation that you guys needed in the beginning. But, you know, filling out that spreadsheet was not an issue. You know, minimal information that needed to be provided to get us up and running. So, you know, and if you remember, I didn't have the time to implement, but then when I realized, oh, this is all you need, I'm like, okay, we can move forward with this. And we did implement it a lot quicker than I anticipated that we would. It really didn't take up a lot of my time to be able to go live.
Yeah, that's great feedback and great perspective, because it is intentional that TeamSense is designed to make it really easy for everybody, not even just the functional use of it, but the implementation. So that's really great feedback. I do remember this was before you implemented it. You were going through some real life scenarios, like, you know, like shift filling, the ability to if Stan wanted to open up a shift on Sunday, and being able to message everyone to let them know that a shift is available. That was one of the scenarios that you had shared
Yeah.
early on.
Yep.
Just curious, have you implemented it for that now, or is that
We
still?
haven't needed to because we haven't been working, we haven't had the need to work on the weekends.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, but that does happen, you know, it's Thursday afternoon, or a Friday morning and third shift is gone and we make a decision that we want to run for whatever reason, we will definitely be using the system. But yeah, it hasn't come up. Hasn't
Yeah.
come up since we implemented it in July. Yeah.
One of the big things that I take away as you're telling your and sharing your story is that you talked about using it for communication, you talked about using it for attendance, but a lot of things that you're describing really is about solving a data problem. And something that made me think about it is, you know, the reconciliation of data, not having to do that with TeamSense, and the potential to avoid disputes. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's directionally where you're going, but I find that an interesting area, because we had another webinar recently where a customer who rolled this out to like 3,400 employees shared with us that with TeamSense, they reduced disputes by 50%. So it seems like an interesting area to continue to improve on.
It definitely was in my mind at the time of implementation. I mean, again, I'm a small site. We're a little over 100 employees. Generally, everybody knows what's going on with everyone else. So that's not as critical, but I did have a situation where there was a termination, and part of the reason for that was his late call offs. So you have to, at Saint Gobain, you have to call in at least a half an hour before the start of the shift. And with the voicemail system, you know, there could be a dispute in terms of the time. And we eventually had to he filed an unemployment claim, we had a hearing, and I was like, you know, if they really wanted to press on whether or not he really did call off late or not, I would have no way to defend myself in that. But with TeamSense, I can now, so I don't have any concerns about that. And you know, it's funny. Just this morning, I had somebody that said, "Oh, you know, TeamSense isn't working." I'm like, "Okay, well, I don't. Let me see if I can validate that comment." I'm like, "Do you have your phone on you?" Well, he tried to go back to an old link and didn't create a new link. So
Hmm.
he actually never sent anything to the site to begin with. I'm like, there is no issue. It's operator error. Like it's okay. So, you know, unfortunately the gentleman didn't call off timely and he didn't follow the directions that and he had called off prior. So, I mean, I know he knows how to use it, but you know, I feel comfortable now that unfortunately he's going to go to the next step in the corrective action process, but I feel fine doing that because I validated that he really didn't do what he was supposed to do.
Right, right. Yeah, it's about having correct, complete, and timely data so you can actually have a fact-based conversation. So
Yes. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things that I find interesting about you, Carrie, too, is because not only are you thoughtful about this stuff, but you do look at this as a platform. So certainly you were trying to solve very specific problems. But when you think about how we describe our story, you know, we do a lot of things, and a lot of our customers are on different parts of their journey. So some of them are, you know, fixing the arm is broken part of call off processes. Some are trying to improve their communication with employees. But at the end of the day, we're about creating this digital connection with hourly employees but quite frankly, are underserved. They're not sitting in front of a computer.
Mhm.
One of the things I think was interesting about how you view the world and what you're trying to do too is just recognizing that TeamSense is a platform to make information more accessible. And so it'd be great to kind of get your perspective on that and how you're using functionality like the portal, you know,
Sure. Yep. Yep.
to do
Yeah.
that.
So, you know, once we got up and running, you know, gave it a month and a half or so, and I'm like, okay, you know, what can I use this for next? So the portal became next on my list for communicating with folks. So um I'm using it for anytime I post an opening that we're going to recruit for internally. So for internal moves, I will send out a communication to let folks know that I put a link in the portal that they can easily go to on their phone to be able to get to whatever. So that's one example. Open enrollment. Put the open enrollment link into the portal for them to easily be able to get to. The other piece that I realize is that the majority of folks now don't have a computer at home. So having these links easily accessible to people through the portal just makes my life a lot easier because I know that I've done all I can to make their lives as easy as possible. You know, that is my goal coming in every day, that, you know, what can I do to have employees focus on their operations out on the floor and not the stuff, because the stuff is what tends to drive people crazy. And not needing a username and password is a big piece with this too, you know. And when I have new hires come in, I mean, honestly, within the first couple hours, they already have TeamSense in their contact list because I do this with them when I sit down during their enrollment to make sure that that they know how to use the system. And then that same day, I'm adding them to the site too. So I mean, that's been seamless. You know, new hires have been fine with it. Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I can't
Yeah,
think of anything negative to be.
there's so much in there that I love. I mean, the fact that you intentionally are making it as easy as possible for employees. I mean, I don't know if they share it with you, but I got to imagine they appreciate that, right? you rattled off a lot of things just to make it easy for them
Well, depending upon the day, I'm not,
to.
it's a tough group. I will definitely say that, but you know, as an HR person, I have to look at myself in the mirror every day. And if I know that I'm doing everything that I can, that's ultimately, because if you let the naysayers, which honestly, there really hasn't been any naysayers with this particular topic. If you let those naysayers get in your head, which, you know, depending upon the day, it's gonna happen.
Right.
You know, I know that there's people out there who definitely appreciate ease of use. And, you know, again, I want them to focus on other things, and I don't want what I need from them to cause them any undue hardship. They've got enough issues to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. And I love how you have just incorporated into your onboarding I mean, by the way, I call these out because these are good tips for new customers and new sites, that it's just a part of your onboarding process, that, you know, everybody gets initiated to it early on. And in a way, you mentioned something earlier about if people hear about Saint-Gobain products, it's probably not a good thing. Maybe it's the same here. If they're not saying anything negative about the use of TeamSense and supporting your processes, maybe that's a good thing, right? If they're just using it.
Yeah, I honestly do feel like in that situation, and there's times where I'll walk into the break room and, you know, I'll say to the folks, I mean, first shift people have more seniority, have more time here, so I trust what they're going to say to me. So I'll ask them, I'm like, hey, you know, I want to send this out on TeamSense. Do you think this is a legitimate topic for me to send a group text out on? And nobody's told me no. So I think there's been a good we're on the same page in terms of what to use it for and what not to use it for. And you know, that's just my site. You know, every plant, every company has you know, a different way of doing things. But you know, I know my group, and I know what would bother me if I had things being sent to me that I really didn't care about. So yeah, so I'm using it selectively on things that I feel that are relevant to making their life a little bit easier, and things that they need to know.
Yeah, there's another thing that you said there. I have this mental list, Carrie's list of best practices, right? So one of them is, I'm taking away from your story, is also making sure that whatever you're sending is meaningful to them. It's a very outside in, you know, empathetic perspective, right? You're not going to spam them with a lot of messages that
No.
are relevant. So it's in that sense, I got, again, another example of, I got to imagine they appreciate that. It's stuff that they would want to know anyway, you know?
Yes,
So,
exactly. That if you don't do this, or if you don't have this piece of information, it is going to negatively impact you. Um, Now I can't guarantee that they're going to look at the text.
sure.
You know, that's, you know, I don't know if there's technology for that, but yeah, again, I know that I've done everything that I can to ensure that they have the resources that they need to make whatever it is that we're doing easier for them.
Great. Sorry,
So,
Carol.
oh no, you're good. You're good. No, I just I'm really curious because you know you're a pretty new user of TeamSense. I know that y'all started in July, and it sounds like you've had some really great feedback in kind of a short amount of time, which is fantastic. What we love to hear. I think a lot of we kind of hinted at the whole change management piece and how even when the easiest thing, change management is always really hard. And so that's why we always try to meet people where they're at with, you know, for example, using text messages versus, oh gosh, time to download another app with another username and another
Yeah.
password.
Yep.
Can you explain just kind of your mental process of when, you know, okay, we're introducing TeamSense. What was kind of your like schedule of rolling it out for people, just so other HR managers can kind of have a sense for what they need to plan for?
Well, I mean, again, in the end, it really didn't take up a lot of physical time on my end. I mean, the spreadsheet was pretty self-explanatory in terms of, you know, what you guys needed to do to load it. I mean, from the time we said go, and it really had more to do with, I had a event at the beginning of June that I knew that I could get in front of people. So that was kind of the driver. And then we implemented, I think, July 12th. Um, but between that time frame, there really wasn't much that I needed to do. I mean, I think I know I had the spreadsheet I had to get in earlier than I thought. But once that was submitted, then it was, just reviewing information. And yeah, I mean, we were for a couple weeks, we were actually just waiting to click the button for it to go live, because we had done you guys had done everything on your end, we had done everything on ours, and it was just waiting to say, okay, it's live and let's use it.
Yeah. And did y'all have like to let your employees know, hey, this is coming, we're kind of using this new tool and platform? Did y'all have like meetings at like a shift start, or kind of did you lean into like your production managers?
No, I mean, because I had physically talked to almost everybody in
Yeah,
June.
which is great.
I really just shift change meetings as we got closer to say, yes, legitimately, we are going live. Everything I told you in June is still happening. And
Real.
yeah, yeah, which, in a lot of cases that doesn't happen. But yeah, we could have actually pulled the trigger sooner if we wanted to, but again, we had already communicated out this was going to be the date, and why mess with it? And yeah, it really was a non-issue. I mean, it's kind of comical now to think about how long we were talking about actually doing this. But
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, that had to do more with us. I mean, not with you guys, more with us, because we didn't necessarily have a good 2023. So this, come beginning of 24, I knew that this was something that I wanted to do.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Well, I'm glad that we finally were able to partner together, and that's fantastic. So in terms of kind of any sort of measurable improvements, have you noticed anything off the top of your head? Obviously like time saved from your end, but I know any behaviors around attendance or more willingness to call in, anything you've noticed in particular in
No,
that way?
no change with that. And like I said, that really wasn't a driver,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a systemic attendance issue. It's the one or two folks. So
Yeah.
that really wasn't, I mean, there's always a nervousness that if you make it easy, that folks will use it for when they really shouldn't use it. But I don't see that as the case at all. I mean, I think for in terms of benefits for me personally is just being able to reach out to 70 plus folks, within a minute. Whereas before I wouldn't be able to do that, and I'd have to kind of run around more to find people. And because the system allows you to send it by shift, send it by individual person. So I've started to use it more individually too, instead of using my own personal cell phone, because obviously I'm not going to load everybody's contact information into my own phone. So um I'll just send a note saying, hey, it's Carrie, because they don't necessarily know who it's coming from. So I'm like, or it's, hi, it's HR, this is what I want to communicate to you. And it it actually, funny story from a couple weeks ago. I had a gentleman who was on vacation for the week. I knew he was going to be in the woods hunting, and I just shot him a TeamSense text and said, hey, Matt, when you get out of the woods, just give me a call. And guess what? He gave me a call when he got out of the woods. So that was perfect.
That's a great story.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, now that I'm saying that out loud, reached out to him when he's not even in the state. He's on vacation, and he had no, it wasn't, he was like, oh, hey, Carrie, you need to talk to me. Like he was totally fine with that. So, yeah, I guess I didn't think about the other positive side of that, people are reacting, when you're reaching out to them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it works, that two-way communication.
Mhm.
The other piece that we've seen too, I'm not sure if y'all have had issues with this, obviously being up in New York and Vermont area where you are. It's funny, we just talked about this before the webinar, but in cases of weather, if you ever, have you all ever had times where you've had to shut plant down or shut operations down and
Yeah,
you need to
so
get
so
communication
that's
from them?
yeah, so that's an interesting piece of this too. So we've actually originally, when we went live with this, the focus was on hourly folks, and that's who 99% of the time I use it for. But we did decide to put our salaried folks on this too, specifically for emergency situations.
Yeah.
So the folks know that um, we did active shooter training a couple weeks ago, and TeamSense was definitely a part of, hey, if we need to know where you are. So we actually changed the access for the EH&S manager to be an admin, that he could send something out on the platform saying, hey, text me here to let me know that you're okay. So I'm going to put it into our crisis manual as part of the process too. So that was definitely a nice uh, piece to implementing this that I didn't necessarily really think about.
Oh,
So I'm happy that was something that I'm like, oh, we have a system that we could use to be able to find people if something like that happened. But going back to the weather, yes, same thing. Um, maybe we'll have a winter
yeah, maybe.
this year, and but yeah, I mean, we'll easily be able to use the system to text people quickly if we're in a situation where we don't need them to come into work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we've had situations, this past year with all the hurricanes and tornadoes we've had plants affected by it, and just the ability to really get those communications out, check where people are, has really made a big impact because, you think, oh, it's great, I can send them a survey and send them all these nice notes and things, but then really when it becomes critical is in those emergency situations. And so I'm glad that obviously we have that in place for y'all, and
Yeah.
it's working. And yeah, hopefully I mean, I hate to say it, I know you're wanting a winter, so hopefully you'll have to use it, but
Yeah, I do hope so. It would be very nice.
just for the weather, nothing, no
Yes.
emergencies. Yeah, I'm loving it. Well, cool.
Well, and I think the other piece of that too is spotty cell reception, where the texting is going to be much more reliable than cell trying to call somebody.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Especially, if you're in the middle of the woods hunting. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
it was kind of, I knew, and somebody said, you're like, you better not call him. He's gonna be in his tree stand. I'm like, yes, I know. Don't worry about it. You guys have trained me. I will not mess up his ability to. But yeah, I mean, just kind of reliving that conversation. He was like so jovial when he called me. Hi, Carrie. It's like your HR manager calling you on your vacation. He wasn't like, oh God, like, what is she harassing me for? It was, no, I need to give her a call. There's a reason why she reached out to me. So yeah, that's pretty cool now that I'm kind of saying that out loud.
No, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
well, cool. Well, Carrie, it's been so fun getting to know your story, and obviously super excited to hear that even since just July, that TeamSense made an impact. We really love getting to know you and your team, especially. I know Kirk, if he was on this webinar, he'd be having a ball too, chatting with you.
Yes.
So, so we'll say.
We'd go probably an hour longer if him and I were.
For those that are watching, Kirk is our customer success manager. He's fantastic. And so,
Yes,
um,
definitely.
obviously, he was super excited to know that you were doing a webinar with us. So,
Yeah, and
uh,
he definitely is a big factor in the implementation going as smooth as it was too. I made a comment to him. I'm like, I wish everybody that I worked with external departments, even within my own organization, were as organized as you guys are. So
that's fantastic feedback. We
yeah.
love that. We will pass that to Kirk. He'll make
Yes.
his day. So, thank you. So, kind of to wrap up here, what is it that you absolutely love about your role? What gets you up every day? And, why should someone consider working at a company like Saint Gobain?
So I've been doing HR for God over 25 years now. But I know that I am a plant HR person. That's always been my drive. Um, in kind of reiterating what I had said before, I want to make folks' lives easier here. You know, I don't come in to purposely make someone miserable. You know, even though as HR, we do have to communicate things that people don't necessarily like. But you know, anything I like being the support system and being the go-to if people have issues. So, I mean, they're kind of like my kids in a way. No, they definitely are sometimes. But I enjoy that, and I like being at this level. If I was not having direct interaction with the folks who are actually manufacturing the product, I definitely would not be happy in my role at all.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you were so hands-on and so in tune with your employees, which is so fantastic that you have that, face-to-face interaction. And it seems like you just really care. And I can feel that from your energy, which is fantastic. Why should someone consider Saint Gobain? What makes it a great company to work for?
I mean, we've definitely done a lot to really be an employer of choice for the long term.
Yeah.
You know, I got to give credit to our benefits group. You know, this coming up in 2025, we've actually improved our pension plan.
Mm,
You know, whereas, you know, companies are talking about dissolving their pension plans, we actually improved ours. So I
yeah.
think they're listening to implementing things that are going to want people to stay for the long term, and that's what we need. You know, we're not a site where I can hire and get somebody trained in a couple weeks. You know, it's a very technical process. I'm looking for folks who are really willing to make a commitment to be here for a career. And you know, my saying to folks is we get the benefit of working in a small rural community. Saint Gobain has a lot of smaller sites, but we get the backing of big global
Yeah.
business. So to have the best of both worlds with that, it's nice. You know, we're not a small mom and pop that um, you know, is solely reliant on ourselves, which, you know, I think people still don't appreciate, you know, what we're able to do. You know, ebbs and flows in the business. I mean, that happens with anybody, but when you've got the larger backing of a global organization, you don't tend to worry as much.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, I haven't laid off an hourly employee the amount of time that I've been here. So we've been slower and have to deal with that. But um yeah, to say that I haven't laid off an hourly person is a big deal to me. I've been through plant closures before. I'm hoping that I never have to do that again. So I think Saint Gobain has the right thought process from that standpoint.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're hiring them for a career. It's not just you show up and you check in, you check out. It's like, how can we really make this a place that you feel proud to work at, you want to engage with, and really and trickle that company culture down, even to the small sites. They are just as important. And it sounds like you are just the perfect example of the company culture too. So anyone would be lucky to work with you, Carrie.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Again, depending upon the day.
Day by day. That's what you gotta do. Take it day by day. Well, awesome. Well, Carrie, this was so fantastic. Thank you again so much for your time. It's been a joy and a pleasure to work with you and tell your story. And we just appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Great. And thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you guys too, which, you know, I've told you guys a lot, but I'll tell you one more time. Yeah, thank you for making my job easier.
That's what we're here for. You make our job exciting and fun too. So this is part of my joy is having conversations like this. So thank you. Okay, Ramil, thank you so much. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you. Thanks,
All
Carrie.
right.
All
Y'all
right.
take care. Have a good one. Thanks everybody
Thank
that joined us.
you.
Bye.